Did you know that at this year's Google Marketing Live conference, there were 7 new Google Ads features that were announced, and almost all of them had to do with AI. Hi, I'm Garrett Hammonds, the Director of Marketing at Nomadic Software and Marketing, and today I'm going to walk you through some of those new features in Google Ads and how they may affect your business and the future of advertising on Google. So let's jump right in and talk about the most popular form of Google advertising, which is search ads. And there's a lot that happened this year with search ads inside of the announcements made at Google Marketing Live. We first and foremost will have a conversational AI experience that's introduced in the advertising creation process. Additionally, we'll see a higher quality of asset generation that can be utilized, as well as increased brand restriction capabilities to be able to help rein in some of the AI that's incorporated in broad match keywords. Now, the business implications of this is that B2B businesses in particular, those who have niche audiences and need really specific assets generated for them, they will now have more room and control to pull in the assets that they need. This is all due to that conversational experience. The advertisers will be able to take whatever assets that they're given and do follow-ups, specify what they're looking for, and include limitations on the generative capabilities that Google's incorporating here to make their content more and more applicable. They also are going to be able to increase the boundaries and limitations that they can put on Google's AI, and that's the brand restriction capabilities. You can have a list of up to 10, and those brand restrictions essentially help Google to be able to know what industry and specific market area that you're trying to target. Now, we have to talk about Performance Max. Performance Max has been all the rage over the past year or so, and this has honestly, for marketers who need lead generation, been a huge disappointment in a lot of different areas. And these updates have in some sense existed, but now we're getting more control. That's the big effort going on here. Increased visibility and reporting, control over which assets that have been generated, which one of those are going to be included in the campaigns. And this is big for video, because we know that with Google's Performance Max, they use their entire ecosystem, and YouTube ads that have been auto-generated have not looked very good in the past. And having the control to say, I want this video and not that video, is a big deal. You also will have this new targeting category. Now, this isn't completely new. It's been somewhat available for a little while, but new customer high value. The business takeaway that you need to know about is that, honestly, offline imported leads and a CRM to be able to feed through the deals information are almost a requirement at this point for these ads to be as successful as what you would want them to be without eating through your budget very, very quickly. And so if you don't have a CRM and have the ability to show sales value within your lead imports, you need to get that set up as soon as possible. Additionally, there's an entirely new campaign type that YouTube is going to be introducing called demand gen campaigns. This is a big deal because it's including some of these audience expansion, generative AI capabilities to be able to get your video out in more places. But you will see lookalike audiences that are going to be replacing things like similar audiences that's been sunset for advertisers moving forward. The paradigm shift that you have to really start embracing with this is that video is no longer just a awareness top of funnel campaign type. This is now going to be a legitimate way to get bottom of funnel conversions if you're utilizing it with all the correct nuances. And so that's where a human touch and being able to analyze each of the different seed audiences you give and everything that goes into feeding the proper data, it's going to be so important. And last but not least, organic search. Now, I know we've been talking about a lot of advertising things, and so it may seem a little bit funny to include organic search here, but Search Experiments is now including ad placements inside of the conversational experience, which means organic search is allowing people to start broad, get more and more specific with follow-ups, and advertisers and companies are going to be required to be more relevant than ever. Your content needs to be able to serve these specific requests that happen as the conversation gets more and more detailed. And so you need to know your audience and hone in on all of those different trends and allow for a little bit of a trust inside of the AI as you experiment to begin with, and have that human touch to know where you can have a little bit of flexibility and where you don't want to show up, because you're going to be in a more competitive space than ever to get your products within these experiment generative AI settings. So to kind of wrap up here, Google has provided a checklist of different things that you can do to prepare for some of these changes, that most of which are launching July 1, or if you're watching this after July, they're already happening. And so you need to make sure you're incorporating as many of these things as possible, but use it in light of your business goals. So Google always throws out suggestions that they want people to do that don't necessarily serve their goals. And so make sure that each of these match up with what you're doing. And with all those business takeaways that we outlined today, you have to incorporate that. Those are some of the key things to make sure that you have success for the future. And if you want to be able to have help with this, Nomadic Software and Marketing does this for our clients. And if you go to nomadicsoftware.com/nomadic Google Ads, we have a sign up for a free Google Ads audit. We'd be happy to, with no commitment involved, just take a look at your account, see where you're at, and give you some suggestions on what you can improve. And so I hope that you'll reach out to us. We'd love to be able to hear more from you. And make sure you're staying on top of all these Google Ads trends, because it's only going to continue to grow, and you need to be ready for all the changes to come.